Joe Burrow, toe injury. Got to get a new name for the turf toe injury, too, by the way, because he's out for 2 to 3 months. And a ton of players always say how tough that injury is, requires surgery. Another year, another Bengals injury. Jake Browning is the starting quarterback now for them. Have they lost this season? Has it slipped away again?
I don't see how it could not have slipped away from them. I don't think this Jaguars team is any indication of how they're going to play in the future. I don't have any particular belief in this Jaguars team. So that's like saying one thing. But also Jake Browning, we'll see what we get from him. He has probably the best receiving core in the NFL, so that is definitely a positive. But the whole thing about the Bengals is the fact that their defense is absolutely awful, and that doesn't like get any better because with Joe Burrow going out, obviously Joe Burrow isn't a defensive player, but the fact that Joe Burrow isn't going to be having any long drives or leading a competent offense down the field definitely hurts the defense, because the longer the defense is on the field, the more opportunities an opposing team has to score on them. So the fact that their defense will probably be comparable to last year's and as bad as it was last year is unfortunate for the Bengals. And now, again, like you mentioned, the open Jake Browning is throwing the ball, and he looked. I don't even know how you want to say he looked. I don't really have a word for it, because although he did throw 3 interceptions, he was good enough to lead a game-winning drive. So there's good and bad with it. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. This might be a genuine situation. We have to go out and like trade for somebody. I don't really know what that looks like at this point, but 2 to 3 months it essentially is a good enough portion of the season to wreck the season. So I don't think Jake Browning can keep them afloat for that long. And if they don't get anybody else, I think that this is a Bengals team that stares down the barrel of another season where another like wasted season of Joe Burrow's prime, essentially, because obviously this is an injury at this point. But that is another season docked off, and they're playing in a division that has the Steelers, who are consistently at least decent, the Browns, who are going to be looking to retool, but like at the very least the Ravens, who are going to be good for years on end. And every year that you get is an opportunity, and this year it looks like it's going to be a wasted one, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Jake Browning threw 3 interceptions in this game, and he did lead a game-winning drive, but watching that drive was like very painful. And they were able to still do it. Doesn't matter how it gets done. And that's a good win over a Jaguars team, and they're 2-0. So there's a bit of a cushion. You've got at least a couple weeks here now where you could potentially take a loss. And next week, you're going to play Carson Wentz and the Minnesota Vikings. So there is something to be said. Maybe if they are 3-0, I'm just trying to make the case potentially why they don't end up losing this season again. Joe Burrow is the only player that can make that team work right now with the offensive line and the defense and being able to get the ball to those great receivers. It's not going to be Jake Browning as the season goes on. If they're 500 by the time Joe Burrow comes back, they'll be able to make the playoffs, I think. I would like to think, but will they be 500 by the time he rolls back around and win earliest sometime in late November or like early December? My initial gut says that that's probably going to be too late for them, and really unfortunate. And more people are going to start having conversations about Joe Burrow and his standing as far as some of the better quarterbacks in the league, because you just can't ignore how many times he's been injured. And I don't think that a lot of Bengals fans, because Jamar Chase has been so good, would have gone back and taken Penei Sewell. It's just it's a revisionist history. Although I will say I was saying that they should have taken him, but uh, still it's tough because it still has worked out, and it's been just about as good as you can have as far as a wide receiver quarterback duo. But man, are we gonna look back on this and say, wouldn't it have been nice if Joe Burrow had an offensive line? Is this how it ends? I don't know. I'm not saying it's over, like, for the rest of his career, but man, another year of this. I feel like it's devastating. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I got to feel for a lot of Bengals fans because this just feels terrible.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to feel for Bengals fans, because it's like they were so uncompetitive for so many years. Obviously, there was a bridge between Andy Dalton and Joe Burrow that was kind of no man's land, and they weren't very good. And then towards that, and even with Andy Dalton, I mean, they made a couple playoffs, and then they won a couple playoff games, that most memorably against the Steelers. But like it's just the Bengals have never been one of those franchises that you can count on to like be consistently good. And now they have the guy, they have the quarterback that should be able to lead them there, and then they can't figure it out organizationally with the defense, and then now Joe Burrow's hurt. So it's like when do you get a win as a Bengals fan, and when can you just start looking forward to a season and being like, man, like this is the season where we're really going to do it. It doesn't look like it's going to be this season, and to be fair, it probably was never going to be the season with how that defense looks and just everything going on around that football team. But at the very least, you would have had like a fun team. Like Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase Brown in the backfield is good enough to want to make Sundays enjoyable for you. And I don't know if Jake Browning has that same luster around him.
I don't think he does. I'm sorry, Jake Browning, Washington Huskies legend. Also, this isn't just to like dog on the offensive line. Injuries and these hits and sacks are just a part of football. It is what it is. Just bad luck, I guess. Maybe he's injury prone. I don't know. It is what it is. Hits add up, but that's just been the case for him in his NFL career, unfortunately, post Super Bowl run. And I think he also got injured his first year starting as well.